The more I read The Ragged Trousered Philanthropist by Robert Tressel, the more I see in common with what is happening to people at work and out of work today. The more I see people being abused in work, being bullied in work, being tyrannized in work. I see this in this novel that is over 100 years old, but I also see people getting injured at work and nothing being done with their injuries. I see that in McDonald's workers being burned by hot fat on their arms. I see that in reports of the McDonald's workers when they were on strike, saying that in fact on one occasion one of them had actually spilt hot fat all over their clothing, their apron while at a fry station, and they were not allowed to use adequate first aid procedures and even change out of the fat-soaked clothes because they were busy at the drive-through window and they couldn't be spared from their workstation. They had been physically injured at work and not allowed proper first aid. Just listen to this extract from one of the painters. You see pictured here probably, working on a house for the decorating company that our socialist hero Owen is working for. And it talks a little bit about their conditions of work and also what happens to one of these guys as he's working in this room. Old Joe Philpott had been working in this room all day, washing off the old whitewash from the ceiling and removing the old papers from the walls with a broad-bladed, square-topped knife called a stripper. Although it was only a small room, Joe had to tear into the work pretty hard all the time, for the ceiling seemed to have had 2 or 3 coats of whitewash without ever having been washed off, and there were several thicknesses of paper on the walls. The difficulty of removing these papers was increased by the fact that there was a dado which had been varnished. In order to get this off, it had been necessary to soak it several times with strong soda water. And although Joe was as careful as possible, he had not been able to avoid getting some of this stuff on his fingers. The results were that the nails were burnt and discoloured, and the flesh round them cracked and bleeding. However, he had got it all off at last, and he was not sorry, for his right arm and shoulder were aching from prolonged strain, and the palm of the right hand was then blistering. It had a blister on it as large as a shilling, caused by the handle of the scraping knife. Look at that. Joe Philpott, admittedly Robert Tressel's fictional character. Robert Tressel's real name was Robert Noonan. He was an Irishman. Fictional character, injured at work. Yeah? But he still has to carry on working. Just like our McDonald's worker at their fry station. Next time you see some Elizabethan glory somewhere, or you go to the seaside and you look at a pier, or you look at some wrought iron work, think how the people that did that suffered at work. Think about ordinary workers. Not just now, not just then rather, but now. And know that that same attitude to exploiting people, even to the extent of them being injured, is still being followed by companies like McDonald's. Think about that. Next time you get a burger and fries, next time you think these people aren't worth anything, after all, they're only on poverty pay, aren't they? Well, think about it. That's what a company that is making billions even now does to ordinary working people, just like they would have done to these ordinary working people over 100 years ago. Nothing has changed.